Hello, good afternoon, everyone. We're here for the Public Works Transportation Committee meeting on Wednesday, November 19th. I'll be acting as chair for just a few minutes here till Councillor Day takes over. So first off, we've got the minutes. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes from October 22nd. Second. All in favor? All right, carried, thank you. Our next committee meeting will be here December 17th at 4 p.m. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda from anyone around the table, as we have some specially appointed councillors to the committee today? All right, if not, I have two. So I have a couple of questions at the end during manager's meeting, but the two things I'd like to add to the agenda, so we'll go with a 5A and a 5B. 5A, we can just call it Handy Dart for now. And 5B, we can call overpass, or pedestrian overpass in Hamilton. And there'll be, I think, fairly brief discussions and potential items, action items. All right, so we'll go ahead with our item number one, which is award a contract to supply and delivery, vehicle equipment, tires, and certified tire services. And Owen Seclair from staff would like to perhaps add a little bit. Switch? Okay. All right, do you have anything else that you'd like to add to your report?
Mr. Chair, nothing to add. Available to answer any questions.
Oh, sorry, there, it's on and off. Great, thanks. I do have a question, but we'll go to Councillor Day first.
Hi, thank you so much for the report. I was just curious why we need a 20% contingency.
Yeah, so the budget, this is an estimate that we have taken based on prior year's experience with our tires. And so the contingency is really there to support any fluctuation of this. It is based on a 3-year term, so it's there just to support any fluctuation of this estimate that we have based on prior year's experience.
Based on past years, would you imagine that contingency will not be spent and it'll go back into the coffers?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, yes, it's hard to predict, just given the fluctuation that can happen. So the tires, whether it's through wear and tear, whether it's potential damage, it may be required. That's why we do request it. That said, if it is not utilized, it will go back into the appropriate reserve.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks. We'll go to Zoom for Councillor Heed has a question.
Yeah, I do have a concern regarding the contingency. I am absolutely not in favor, and you'll see a common theme coming forward as us having contingency at this amount. 20% is significant for a contingency. If it was around 5% or something like that, I'd absolutely go for it. Now, if we can't make an estimation on where the heck we're going to be on this, and we're going to be at 20% contingency built in just in case, I don't think that's appropriate, and I'm not coming down on the staff member in front of the table there. I'm telling you, just as a council, we have to really seriously consider the amount of money we're putting into contingency, and we've got to figure out a different way to actually do this instead of putting that into each particular program. We've got to be better. We've got to certainly sharpen our pencils so we can be a little more exact. And when we do put it in some type of special contingency fund, and it shouldn't be in this one, we are going to have some process in place. And you heard me the other day, whether it's right through some type of accountability system or even right back to council to decide whether the additional money is going to be put into this. And I'm just going to put that out to everyone on the table, because we've got to seriously consider this, whether it's a capital works project or whether it's just our operational side. We got to get away from this percentage of contingency each and every time. We've got to be more exact in where we're going. A 20% margin of error, that is significant if we've got qualified staff that can't come up with a better determination than that. That was just a comment I wanted to make, and I'm certainly putting it out to my other councillors to respond.
Thank you, Councillor Heed. My response to that is, I guess perhaps would staff consider that contingency needing 20% additional tires on top of the 720 that are approximately purchased per year? So we might need up to 20% more tires, or is that contingency also covering expecting something else other than the physical tire purchase?
Mr. Chair, so that could be, it could be tires depending on where as well as damage. It could be roadside calls, the services that we do receive as well. That's considered in the contingency. Again, what we have done is provided an estimate based on prior year's experience. That could fluctuate in any given year for both tires and the tire services such as road calls.
Thanks. I'm just going to go to additional staff.
Could I please add, just to note that one of the reasons we put in a contingency is because we don't know what the weather conditions are going to be. Snow response is an issue. We don't know what the weather conditions are going to be for this year and the next 3 years of the contract. If it's a particularly significant snow event year, we know we'll have more damage to the expensive tires on the trucks that we use for snow response. So those are the kinds of things that the contingency allows us to deal with. If there are higher accidents than we had expected, that's the types of things that the contingency deals with. And if we don't require the contingency, it definitely stays within the relative operating budgets.
And Mr. Chair, my response to that is, you know, if we need additional money, there's an ability to come back to council to ask for that additional money. So again, it's a principle of having such a large amount in contingency, and I certainly will not be supporting this.
Thanks. We'll go to Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thanks very much. From what we heard, all those things should already be budgeted for and part of the budget. I have to agree with Councillor Heat. The contingency seems to be 20% across the board. That's what the city does. And I think, Mr. Chairman, I brought it up even of the special events. I think the council needs to look at the whole aspect of contingencies, a separate topic, and how we deal with contingencies. It's in everything we do. It's 20% automatic, okay? That's a fifth of everything. Not criticizing the budgeting, but if we, as Councillor Heat or others have said, if you need it in the budget, then put it in the budget, okay? Yes, have a contingency, but like I said, 20%, it's a little bit much. So, as a member of the committee, but I think we should refer this and have this discussion at GP with the idea of contingencies, make a referral to staff to look and reevaluate the 20% margin of contingency, because it is across the board, everywhere you see it. So it may be 18, it may be 15, it may be 5. I don't know what it is, but I think we need to evaluate it. That's almost $150,000.
Just to
A
clarify,
lot of roadside visits for $150,000.
just to clarify that point from Councilor McNulty, when we had the discussion, I think this is now our second or third discussion about contingency in the last few weeks, we never actually made an official referral on the contingency matter. So,
I'm moving referral.
so moving referral from this committee, which is fine. I don't think it needs to come at the general purposes
Well,
committee. It
I'm
could come
saying we
from
can't
here
do it, yeah.
and be responded
But
to.
it's in planning, it's in everything we do, so.
So why don't we finish this one off?
20% contingency, we need to have a discussion on it.
Okay, we'll see where this item goes, and then we'll go to that referral after that. Okay. Councillor Loop.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you for the information. I imagine you've put together the budget, or the budget's been put together based on how things have typically happened. If we want to change how we do our contingency, certainly that's in the books. I don't necessarily know that sending it back now. I think creating a policy around contingency makes sense. I think what might be helpful to understand these numbers better is if we could get the previous 5 years' expenses and how much contingency was used each year. So maybe one year there was no snow and nothing got used, another year there was a ton of snow and it was a lot higher. So maybe if we could understand how the expenses fleshed out in other years, then carrying it forward would make more sense for us before we go to council next week. Thank you.
Okay. We've got staff like to comment? Yep.
Could I just also add that the contingency that's identified in this report is not a budget ask. The funding in the budget is there. This is a contract value, so in case we need to go a little bit above, it's just the value of the contract that we can pay to the contractor. So it's not a budget request. It's just gives us a value that we can spend up to in the contract, just to clarify.
Thanks. Councillor Day, would like to add on to that?
Yeah, just, I should have asked this before. Because I am concerned about the 20%. If we were to pass this for today, and it'll go to council on Monday, would you be able to come back with a report that explains how you came to the 20% and what in the past has been the patterns so that we can see whether it's, justifiable to the taxpayers or whether we need to tweak it?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, yes, we can work on that, get that prepared.
Thank you.
Okay, and then back to Councillor Liu.
Thank you, through the chair. A follow-up question to staff. So in the contract, there's a 20% contingency. In that contingency, it solidifies the sales price that we can purchase the additional goods at if we need them. So we're pre-setting what we can buy it for, so they don't turn around and say, well, you only ordered 700 tires, you can only have 700 tires at X number of dollars. Now it's X plus 30% because it's winter time and everybody wants a tire and too bad. Is that what this contingency covers?
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, so the contingency, just to clarify, what the contingency would cover is what we have, what the vendor has proposed is they have submitted their rate for 3 years in which we would pay. It's the value of the contract based on what we anticipate using. The contingency is there just in the event that we do utilize their services more than initially expected, to allow for us to pay more into that contract if need be. So it doesn't necessarily secure our pricing, it just allows us to continue purchasing as needed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then I just had a few remaining questions, not related to contingency. They are related to the predetermined criteria. There was the financial, technical, and sustainability components. I'm just wondering if you could expand, is there a couple like sub-bullets under the sustainability? I'm just thinking of with 720 tires, are we talking about like recycled content or end of life, circularity of the product?
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, with this, it is identified that all tires are recycled. So at the end of their useful life, they are disposed of, they're recycled, they are shredded and turned into various materials, whether that be playground surfacing, matting, rubber pellets for turf fields, roof tiles, anything along those lines.
And then do we know at all about these specific tires and this contractor? Will they go back into a local supply of those products, or we can't follow that?
Mr. Chair, I don't believe that's something we can necessarily follow once they're disposed of.
Thanks. And then the other question I just had was around like the service calls. I don't know if we have in our fleet tow trucks or flatbeds that can pick up one of our vehicles that has had a flat and be able to bring it back to the yard to perhaps reduce the cost of costly and sometimes unsafe repairs on a street, but to do it back at the works yard?
Mr. Chair, we do not have those assets in our fleet.
Okay, thanks. I think that's all the questions I have. So knowing that we're going to do a referral motion after this, let's put the motion on the table and the seconder for this one. Thank you. All those in favor, those opposed? Councillor Heed, where are you on this? Are you vote for or opposed? Councillor Heed?
Opposed.
Okay, so that was Councillor Heed and Councillor McNulty opposed. Okay, and then, so it carries, and then a referral motion, Councillor McNulty.
Obviously, doesn't seem that there's any, obviously, doesn't seem there's any appetite for it, but I'm going to put it forward. I think I'd like to see, as Councillor Dave was talking, I'm hoping for Monday, we get the last 5 years of the contingency, what was spent and what wasn't. I think we can ask for it in every project, but I think we need to look at, for the staff, what is reasonable under good business practices for a contingency. I'm not saying we don't put a contingency in, but what is reasonable and what is it for good business practices? Ours is 20% across the board. You just look at everything you've done and go back 5 years and every contract that's come, it's there. It's standard for the city of Richmond. I'm not saying it's right. Let's find out from good business practices.
So the motion's made. Do you want to just read out what you have as the motion then?
That staff look at what is reasonable under good
in all aspects with the city.
Okay, is there a seconder for that motion? Okay. Any discussion on that? There's Councillor Day.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think it's a good idea because there's been a lot of times we've been looking at the contingency and sometimes it just kind of disappears. And I'd like to know how we come to those numbers because I don't believe that having something across the board for every single aspect of the city is necessary. I think for some projects it probably is, but for some, maybe not. So reviewing the process and how we got to those numbers, I think is a diligent thing to do for the taxpayers.
Okay, before we go to further committee members, senior staff would like to comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and further to Councillor Day's statement, that is indeed correct. There's different projects, different procurement methods which carry different contingencies. So what I heard at today's committee is maybe two things. First of all, in advance of Monday's council meeting, we'll have some historical information on this contract specifically. And then with respect to the contingency in general, how we approach it in the city of Richmond, that will take us a bit longer to pull together, and it may be more appropriate to bring forward to the Finance and Audit Committee, where we can definitely start working on that referral collectively with our finance partners. So there's industry standards for contingency depending on how much design is done and how much information is available with respect to the unknowns or the known unknowns, as they say. So happy to take that back as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Go to Councillor Liu.
Thank you, through the chair. I think it'll be helpful too if we can have some clarification between budgeting contingencies and contract contingencies. Councillor McNulty talked about looking at contingencies in all aspects of Richmond City things, so I think there's a little bit of, there's a bunch of categories that this is going to affect. So like if we have a parade, there may be a 20% contingency on how many extra people we expect or whatever. But there's a number of different categories that this is. So I hope this isn't too big of a referral. And I think that it'll be helpful to understand some of the things that happen in procurement. And there are different things that are procured and different ways that things are procured. And I think it'll be interesting to have a better understanding from council's point of view on how those things come forward. And so I support Councillor McNulty's referral.
Thank you. Councillor Galanders.
Thank you, the Chair. I'm not on the committee, so I can't vote, but I do support the referral as well. I think it is important to look at the contingency. I think what the biggest concern would be that we have a 20 and even 30% contingency on some projects. And so where is the benefit to, where's the motivation to make sure we stay out of that contingency and save money where we can and return the money to the contingency? If it's there, is staff able to just spend it? Is, you know, there's this much left over in the budget. Hey, let's just add this stuff because we've got it in there. There might not be, like, how does that work? So I think that the referral is a really good idea so we can see how the contingency was spent. I can see how being a public body and being a city versus the private sector, that the contingencies could be handled differently than necessarily best business practice, because if you have a contingency in a business practice of 5% or 10%, and something comes up, you can just do a change order and the people at the top approve it, whereas with the city, if something comes up and staff has to come back to council for approval for a little bit of an extra budget, it can lead to, you know, there might be new councillors on at that point, and then the project just gets canceled. You know, so I can see why it'd be nice to have a little bit more of a contingency when it comes to city projects, but at the same time, making sure that we're absolutely trying to get the best value and save money where we can. So yeah, it's good that you brought it forward, and it's good to take a look at it.
Okay, thanks. Good discussion around the table, and thanks for staff for being kind of on top of this and knowing where we're going with it. So we'll call a question on the referral. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, nothing from Councillor Heed. Okay, then we'll carry on to item number 2. Number 2, update on 2025-2026 snow and ice response preparations. And Brandon Olson, would you have anything you'd like to add to the report?
Nothing to add to the report. Happy to answer questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great. We'll start with Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thanks very much. Good job. I understand we're brining already. Thank you for those that noticed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I didn't know that it was better for the environment and more cost-effective to use salt brine, so I appreciate that information that was in the report. And I was a little curious about the GPS public-facing web service on page 15, so people can know where the problem areas are, because I've been on the website and I've never seen that. So how does the public access that?
Through the chair to Councillor Day. So it is available on the city's website, www.richmond.ca/winter. It is activated during events only. So leading up to an event, we will activate the webpage for residents to be able to view. And what they're able to view is locations of plows, where they've serviced most recently. It'll have a time elapsed, so staff or residents are able to see when the plow was last in that area. It also notes the priority of the road that plow is on, or maybe where they might live. It also allows access to the city's intersection cameras. So this helps residents plan their routes in advance of events, as well as understand the last time their area was serviced.
So that would explain why I didn't see it.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so I wonder if we shouldn't add to the website that these sensors and the website availability on that information for the public is only when winter activates the events. Maybe just have a notation somewhere so that people know that if no news is good news, basically. And then I wanted to ask about salt brining the bike paths. Given that we've spent, a small fortune on all these multi-use pathways, I think it would be also valuable to salt brine those as well, so they can actually get used in the winter. Any thoughts on that?
Through the chair to Councillor Day. So in 2023, staff did a pilot to determine the viability of servicing bike paths and MUPs and other modes of transport within the city. It was determined at that time that with the current fleet component and funding resources, that it's not sufficient at this time. And with our current snow and ice response plans, that is not currently within our plan.
Okay, so that report, as I recall, and that project that we were looking into was for actually clearing snow, right? That wasn't for, I'm only talking about salt brining.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, I believe it was to do all of the aspects, which was pre-treatment as well as clearing snow.
Okay, and it just wasn't going to work. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Councillor Glanders?
Thank you, through the chair. Question, PWT 17, regarding the bylaw fines for the people that weren't clearing the snow in front of their own residence, and we increased fines and whatnot. I was wondering how the response was to that, as far as, did it actually improve behavior? Did the fines help get more sidewalks cleared, or was it more absentee owners, so they didn't even know they were getting a fine and the fines just built up, but the actual situation didn't improve? Or
Through the
did
chair
it?
to Councillor Glanders, I'll have to defer to my colleagues here in
Yeah.
bylaws.
Through the chair to Councillor Glanders, there was no real evidence of an improvement in behavior, either positive or negative. And just given the volume of calls, there was a high level of calls for service to ticket ratio. There were 71 tickets, I believe, in that 2024-2025 period, which marked an increase over 2023-2024. That might also be due to the more proactive patrolling that was going on. But we saw the same level of compliance.
Same level, okay. I just had one more question. It was also regarding the multi-use pathways and the idea of the.
While Mark is up here, just on that note, if I could just jump in, my question was going to be about that, the 71 bylaw notices. Are they mostly or all residential properties where people live? Or in there, did we also see a surge? Because I remember us asking bylaws to maybe look into properties that are under development and have fences and hazards, as well as commercial sites. So do you know if any of the 71 were that type?
To the chair, I don't have that information at the ready, but I can provide a full breakdown of the commercial versus residential and undeveloped sites as well in those tickets.
Okay, much appreciated. Sorry, Councillor Glanders, you can continue there.
That's okay. Yeah, no, I just was also thinking about the multi-use pathways, and, I also remember the pilot, and the council didn't want to move forward. I think it was around $650,000 or something like that to get more equipment. But I can't help but think, you know, on Granville, for example, like when we do get a dump of snow and we've got those major bike lanes there that have to connect to the SkyTrain for people to get to work. And it's just for weeks, they're sitting there just clogged up with snow. It just seems to me that if we have to plow Granville, for example, and then the snow gets pushed into the bike lanes, could we not run the mobile snow blower down the multi-use pathway, at least just on the main roads, and get it, like, could we do a pared down version where, I mean, it's just, they're sitting there for weeks and we get a lot of complaints from the public. Like, I just want us to look at another program. Like, we didn't approve the one 2 years ago, but maybe there's just a brining program that might make a difference. That's going to be less money. Maybe there's something we could do with our Kubota ATVs with the plow on some roads, you know?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Glanders. So when it comes to clearing bike lanes, particularly protected cycling lanes, it comes with its own set of challenges. One significant one is, where do you put the snow? You more essentially have to remove the snow and take it elsewhere, because if you move the snow from the protected cycling lane, typically it has to go onto the sidewalk, and it creates its own challenges.
Then you got to blow the sidewalk clear.
There's additional challenges with pre-treatment and taking care of bike lanes and MUPs in snow events, where they actually do require a considerable amount of attention given the users who use them. So staff can definitely take direction and explore opportunities where we can. But just from reviewing research from other municipalities, that they do present a significant amount of resource requirements to enable to do that.
Okay.
All right, we'll take a motion then on this updated response, and all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. Being available for all those questions. All right, item number 3, Westwater Drive traffic calming. And we have Sonali Hingorani. Anything you'd like to share on this one?
Nothing further to add, Mr. Chair.
Great. Any questions around, we have, okay, it's on the floor, it's seconded, but we have discussion, and Councillor Day first.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing this back so quickly. I was actually speaking to the neighbors about this, and when they said, what can we do? I said, well, let me tell you. So I showed them how to reach out to staff, and the report clearly shows that the neighbors in the area had a serious concern when 85% drive 60 kilometers or an hour, and then 93% in the survey want traffic calming. So 2 speed cushions and 1 speed hump. When I was there visiting with the neighbors and they were showing me the issue, there was a motorcyclist doing wheelies on the back of his bike, just flying back and forth while people were walking with strollers. It was unbelievable. Will these speed humps and speed cushions stop that kind of behavior?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, yes, we heard the same feedback when we met with residents and had an open house, that they were concerned about motorcycles using the gaps in the speed cushions to travel unimpeded, and that's why that center raised speed hump that will help slow motorcycles down.
Good, good. Well done. Thank you for the report.
All right, seeing no other discussion, then we'll call a question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Item number 4, Westminster Highway and River Road intersection enhancements. Councillor Day, could you give, there's one beside your mic, if you pass it over to staff, and pass one to staff there. I made a couple extra copies there. All right, so this item is our staff recommendation to consider some of the improvements. So I will start off. I got a number of comments. Maybe I can cover most of them. I use this intersection usually daily. And I give a printout because I noticed in the last item for Westwater Drive, there was an image so we could refer to it. This one didn't have an image. And I think it really warrants it for those who don't typically travel to Hamilton. You probably don't usually use this intersection. And also just throwing the name Westminster Highway out there is confusing because there's more than one of them. And so the first thing I wanted to sorry, staff, did you have anything you wanted to add first? Sorry.
Mr. Chair, nothing to add.
Right.
Happy
Good.
to answer.
I'm ready to go. So a lot of the data, I think that fed your report, I think is somewhat old news now since the Costco Business Center just opened in Queensboro. And it's been like a night and day difference on Westminster Highway going right through this intersection since last Friday, both directions. As well, likely back up on River Road. We've heard from people coming from hours away to come visit this business center. So I think that we might not even want to accept recommendations today, because I think we might need to revisit this. I know there's just a surge right now, but I think it could last. So a couple other things I just noted I want to point out on the map. The stop sign that they're referring to is right down here. So it's when you come down, speeding along River Road, you must make this turn, otherwise you hit a barricade or go through a fence, which has happened a few times in the last few years. And the stop sign is only down here. And I took a picture of it the other day when I was stopped at it, and part of the stop sign was actually blocked by blackberry, Himalayan blackberry. Every year it comes out of this hedge, and the hedge itself gets overblown and grown and covers the stop sign. So I think one thing that's not even highlighted in the report is the vegetation management, and not just cutting blackberry where it's coming out, but getting to the root of it. Otherwise, this is a make-work problem project that continues. The other one is, I think this is city land. So yes, there's the white line on River Road at the inside of that curve, but inside of like the property side of that curve, there's a major drop-off. So any vehicle that does that turn or has a giant truck coming the other way and you have to go, you go into like a big pothole gully, and that needs to be addressed. If that's city land, I can't fathom it's going to take much work to fill it up with gravel and pack it down, because that is a little bit of a hazard when you're a small car and you're bouncing up and down in that, coming up to that intersection. So that also is not in the report. I wanted to highlight those two things first. Next thing I wanted to mention was last night, it was super foggy if you were in East Richmond last night. And I said, I'm gonna go River Road home. And it was completely foggy. And it really wasn't until coming into this picture that I actually realized that the end of River Road was near. Because there's no light or anything. There is the reflecting signage on this side, but you couldn't see it at all. And I know because I use it almost every day, so I knew I was coming up to it and what houses were beside me, my markers. But the average person trying to fly to Costco before it closes is going to literally fly into the barricades. So I do feel we need some, like, yeah, there was that idea of putting lighting on the stop sign, a blinker, but I almost think there should be something there. And lastly, there's a question now. So I know just a little bit further on Westminster Highway, there's the Smith Crescent intersection. That's a pedestrian activated flasher to allow pedestrians to cross Westminster Highway. I wonder if there's an option to put some type of a sensor thing there so that the cars can activate the sensor, so that it's not a three-way stop, it's not a full-blown expensive traffic light, but if there is, and when there is, the constant backup of cars that happen every day, that can activate a light then to come in. I know that would probably be costly, but it wouldn't need to be a full light. It would just need to be the type of light that Smith Crescent has. Is that a possibility to staff, to have something lower option than the one included here, but something more like that Smith Crescent that a vehicle can trigger?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I can speak to a couple of those things. We did actually flag in our analysis that the vegetation issue that you've noted, and so we have gone out in the past week to done some vegetation clearing. I've seen some pictures today to see that that's been done. And so also as an update, some of the signage works that we have flagged in the report that has been installed as well. With respect to the bend, we've had some discussions around that previously. We have received direction to install a flashing light at that location. We've engaged with the Provincial Inspector of Dikes to look at kind of installing a big sign with a flashing light on top. And what we identified is actually that's quite costly to install because it's on the dike and there's significant geotechnical work that needs to be done. What we have found is another technology, which is light up flashing chevron markers, and that can be mounted on the existing no post signs, and that can be a cheaper option. So we have placed an order for that. That's expecting to come in early January, and we're looking to install that as soon as possible, as soon as the material can be delivered.
And that one there is not in the report at all, that option?
No, because we've already received direction to do that, and so staff is actively working on that. And then with respect to your final question about a vehicle-activated light-up, that is certainly possible, but because River Road is on the dike, that will be more costly. I would say it would be over $100,000, perhaps $200,000 as a high level for what it would cost to have a vehicle-activated kind of flashing light. So we can certainly kind of take direction on that.
Okay. A follow-up question I have then. I watched a clipping of part of the New Westminster Council meeting or committee meeting, whatever it was, yesterday, where they brought up the traffic mayhem in Queensborough as a result of Costco, and they're now going to strike a staff committee to look into it. And I wanted to maybe ask staff, do we have any communication with transportation study staff? Like, this is their private property business, but it's impacting us, and I don't know if we can like piggyback and off of their work, their study, and kind of get their analysis instead of us having our staff duplicate it. So do we have any partnership coordination with New Westminster Transportation?
Through their specific development application, they hadn't previously reached out to us to consult us on their traffic study. However, staff certainly does coordinate with adjacent municipalities and staff at different levels. And so we can certainly reach out and see if they can be willing to share that information with us.
Okay, that would be great. So as it stands then, what you're recommending are the three modifications. The additional warning signage, road markings, which I assume would be like white painted marking or something on the roadway. The warning signage, which is going to be enhanced with the lighting on it, reflective tape, and a flashing beacon that will sit on top of the River Road stop sign, which I think would be similar to what's at Blundell and Shell. There's the little beacons on all four of those stop signs as well. Okay, great. Councillor Day, question?
Thank you very much. So you were aware of the Costco going in Queensborough?
No, I wasn't personally aware
So,
yesterday. Previously, like we were not engaged as part of their.
So New West did not reach out to the city of Richmond to tell them that a major big box store, I know not as big as the other one, was going to be built on the other side of our boundary.
Our staff would like to comment on that.
Yeah, as far as I know, the transportation staff was not aware. I can't say that they didn't contact the city at all. I'd have to ask our other departments, but I wasn't aware of it until it was in place.
Yeah, I had a friend who lives out there tell me, oh yeah, they're putting in an office Costco. I went, what? I mean, we should know about this kind of thing. I would suggest that we write a letter to New West and say in the future, if you're going to build something as significant as a Costco so close to the border, we should have been notified.
Do we want to make anything formal with that? Do you want to have committee strike
I don't think we need a motion for that, do we? I mean, maybe it's
have this direction to staff to?
Mr. Chair, if I could, I can certainly reach out to my counterparts there and say that we'd have really appreciated some advance notice for this.
Should have known, yeah, okay, thanks.
Hey, Councillor McNulty?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the issue I'm concerned about is how we continue to mitigate and keep it safe, given your suggestions, and have those put in place. And also on the east side, coming our way as well. I think down by the childcare, which is on our side, a boundary, right to boundary. I think we should be looking at that. You mentioned you think it'll drop off. We've got a problem now, and I think we need to solve it now and to continue doing that. So whatever staff can do within their power to implement those things, the sooner we do it, the better. You hear even up to tonight, they're already lined up there, looky, see, whatever. I don't know what's in that traffic, and I think the notice of what was there or what was perceived to be there, I don't think we knew. I don't think anybody knew. I don't know how staff could have known. I don't think the general public still knows. Has anybody been there? I haven't. You have, okay. So you know what's there. Okay, you're the only one in this whole room. So, yeah, okay. So, we'll take your lead if there's some suggestions, but I would like to make sure in the staff report, which I think is good, that we add, you mentioned clean the blackberries, put a sign in, put some signage earlier, you know, those kinds of things, put it in. And if there's a cost, then bring it back to council and we can look at it from some of the funds we have. Don't worry about funds for safety. There's no price on safety.
Right, before I
So
go
I
to.
support what you brought.
Thanks. Before I go to Councillor Liu, staff wanted to comment again? Oh, two staff. Whoa, look at this. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and certainly, as always, we will update and we'll monitor the situation there in East Richmond. Maybe put some new counters out there to see what the updated traffic volumes are, and can definitely report back via council on new information. But I gotta give it a couple of months of data to make sure we've got some good reporting.
Thanks. Yeah, I was hesitant to think about, like, maybe we should go in and put in a three-way stop pilot. But I think doing anything slowing down the traffic, because if you put in, apparently you put in how to get to the new Costco, it's so backed up at the new west entrance. All the Google maps tell you to then go through Richmond. And to put a stop sign there or a stop, any way to stop the traffic, that's gonna back all the way up to Highway 91 in no time. And it's gonna be really problematic for all the emergency services, first responding, that would need to be done in the area. And so anyway, thanks for staff for saying you'll be following up with that. Okay, Councillor Liu?
Thank you through the chair. Just sort of a question, comment to staff. Like, for us to give another community notification that things are happening would suggest there would have to be some sort of threshold before we just start writing letters to people. But for us, even on council, there are some projects that we don't know are happening. So obviously we know all of our own capital projects, but there are some projects that are coming forward, and this isn't necessarily from Public Works, it's more on the planning side, I think, but like IKEA is growing by 50%. I don't think we're writing to all the other municipalities saying that the IKEA is getting bigger. Maybe we should, but we don't, that hasn't ever come across our desk. That, it doesn't need I think they can just expand based on their existing footprint, based on what they're allowed to do. That doesn't come across council's desk. So I think we should probably make a referral at planning that we get quarterly updates on, and pick a size project and above, that we get a list of those that are happening so that we know that they're happening. Because otherwise, unless we drive past the property and see the sign out front, we don't know it's happening. And we certainly wouldn't consider to tell another community that it's happening if we don't have a list of it, right? So, and we certainly wouldn't expect staff to go running around telling everybody what they think's happening, even, you know, like New West Council might not have known it's happening because they're an industrial building an industrial space, business as usual. They didn't have to tick off anything for the business license, anything else, right? I knew Costco was coming because I'm a Costco member and I got the letters, but I think we should think of putting that forward for planning. I think we'll bring it forward for planning, Bill?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Next meeting.
All right, then to receive our information, we'll take a motion for this item then. Second. All those in favor? All opposed, none opposed. And Councillor Heed has left the meeting, so that's it. We're on to item number 5. That's the Richmond Board of Education motion on school traffic safety. We do have our staff speaker here and our one-page kind of memo letter that came to the mayor's office from the district. So is there anything you'd like to add? Anything further that's occurred since the letters was written?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'd like to add that staff have a chance to review the letter. And upon our review, we see that there's 4 requests being made related to school zone safety. The first one is to expand school zone hours, and then to also increase traffic calming, upgrade crosswalks and walkways, and also consider additional measures on arterial roadways. What I'd like to offer committee is that with respect to those last 3 items, Those are already part of our ongoing proactive coordination programs that we have with the school district. For example, in 2022, staff undertook a comprehensive citywide review of all the school zones in the city. And through that process, upgrades to crosswalks and walkways were made and traffic calming measures were installed. And we continue to work with the schools regarding traffic calming measures in school zones. And we've actually met with all the principals of the 38 elementary schools and 10 public high schools regarding their specific requests on school zone safety for their schools and address those through a variety of different treatments. And for the first request regarding the expansion of the school zone hours, that's actually something that staff are currently reviewing. It's been done in some of our neighboring municipalities. So what we've heard from them as part of our review is that implementation of that change, which means that the 30-kilometer-per-hour school zone speed would be expanded to all hours of the day, that there's been some pros and cons with that program, and some residents have raised concerns in regards to the lowering of the speed limits outside of school hours. And this item is actually on our Traffic Safety Advisory Committee meeting for discussion with our road safety partners, and that meeting's next week. So we'll discuss this with them, and as part of our review of this change, we'll certainly be consulting further with the schools and the community at large to see what the level of support is for that. I just wanted to add that the city's Traffic Safety Advisory Committee does meet every 2 months, and standing agenda items do include safety initiatives around school zones, and we work with representatives from the school district, the Richmond PAC, Richmond RCMP, bylaws, and ICBC around school zone safety coordination. And we will add this letter to our agenda next week at the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee meeting, and we can certainly undertake a new round of school zone safety review, and certainly will collaborate efforts further with the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee on school zone safety. And I did want to share one of the recent collaborative efforts that came out of the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee, which is a new postcard that provides tips and information and education to the public around safety in our school zones. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, great. Before I go to a few councillors here that have questions, is that the same one that says careful when you open your door? Because I saw some postcards recently that were stuck on parked cars that were warning them to be safe when they open their doors so they don't hit bikes. You don't have anything like that?
No,
around it?
that's not on these ones.
Okay, it looked like that. I didn't get to grab one. I should have. My other comment, just off the top, was I have seen some of those school maps that Lloyd had, and that improvements have been made in a number of the school sites that I frequent. So I appreciate that, the work that's been done since those were generated in 2022. Also wanted to comment that expansion of school zone hours, I think I have it correct, Burnaby expanded from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., and same for New West. I think they did the exact same spread. And then Langley went to 24 hours a day. I wonder, do we know, is that still on the non-arterial roads? Because for our schools, elementary and high schools that are on arterial roads, they remain as 50. So do you know if the other cities also made a change to the speed limit on arterial roads for their schools?
I believe they're on local roads. They haven't made changes on arterial roads that I'm aware of, but that's part of the research and the different types of timings that other municipalities are doing and what's worked well. And that will be part of the staff's review and discussion with the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question, which I was going to ask at a manager's report, but actually fits in here. The Hamilton pedestrian bridge over Highway 91A, which is provincial jurisdiction. Does the committee, do they at all consult with the province when it's a provincial infrastructure that needs to be replaced or improved? Is that advocacy work on behalf of that committee?
Mr. Chair, we can meet with the province directly regarding the conditions of that pedestrian overpass.
Okay, because the users of it are concerned out in Hamilton. A few of us around the table have walked it or ridden over it, and yeah, it's definitely, we would consider end of life and is a safety hazard. So we'll maybe leave it there for now. We'll go to some councillors who have questions or comments. Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thanks very much. I appreciate the report, great report, great suggestions, and I wholeheartedly endorse it. I think we're missing one thing, in my opinion, and it's great that they've come to us, and that is internal versus external. The external we're dealing with, et cetera. The internal we're not. And if you can take the coffee cup away from Mrs. Smith that's driving her child to work and trying to make a left hand at Steveston, London, we wouldn't have that traffic jam and almost hit somebody there. And what I'm getting to, I think the PACs need to get involved in this and do something. I don't think there's enough. This is, if they're really concerned, I think they need to take the bull by the horns and somebody should speak to Mrs. Smith or whoever. I'm just taking the example and I've seen it. See it all the time. And we need to look at driver education and pedestrian safety from an internal point of view. It's great to say city do this, city do that. Yeah, we can do all these things. We had a traffic expert across the way, but I don't think that enough is in it. Stop at Hugh Boyd. I mean, I can pick every school you want. You all know that what the problems we've got. We think we've got Costco lineups. Well, yeah, we do have Costco lineups outside the school at every school in Richmond for an hour on either side of the clock. So I put that out. I support what you're doing, but I'm going to put a little bit of pushback to them to do the things that they could do. We give them a bicycle program, we train kids, we do this, we do that. I think staff and we're doing one hell of a good job. You never have enough, but so on. The other thing I think is probably more, and I call it enforcement, but internal and external enforcement. I think the internal enforcement is somewhat lacking. There's no reason why a principal cannot tell a parent or the PAC groups and say, and do some internal discipline. We went through it at Maple Grove and McGee, and we told some people about their driving habits, and they didn't like it to start with, but they got the message. The other thing is to increase signage. I've always said, the green signs which show student, they're almost before the school. If you went to Lord Byng, for example, on number 1 road, you'd bypass the school before you saw the sign, if you were driving 50, let's say. Okay, maybe we should have one further. We should expand that on both sides and maybe have more than one sign. This is a school zone. I'm not saying signage is, and you might put up a sign too, speed kills now and again too, and I think that those are linked. So anyhow, I support everything you've done, Mr. Chairman, and I think we've done, I don't think we do these. I think we continue to build on them, let them know what we're doing, but let's get some help too and educate the public on this. That's the greatest place to start the education is with the PAC and with the schools. Whether each school has, 300 or 400 kids, parents, et cetera. You're a school teacher. I've been a school teacher. And I know what it is, so we have to look after ourselves for it. And thank staff for all the work that they've done here. So that's my hobby horse. I've been involved in many traffic safety issues throughout the province, so I know what it is. But and I should let them know that we're on to this right away. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Liu.
Thank you through the chair, and thank you. Sitting on the school board liaison committee, I know a lot of the work that's been done already with the in-road street calming, the police enforcement to some schools. We had a real problem with Burnett a couple of years ago, and the PAC couldn't seem to get a grip on their own parent community, so the RCMP stepped in and filled that gap. The school board does ask about things like walkways. Aren't sidewalks that touch their property their responsibility? So there are a number of schools that don't have sidewalks, curbs, whatever. That's their responsibility to put those in if they want them, right?
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, yes, but we do work with them regarding walkways on the public road where possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, through the chair. Thanks for the information and the update. Just kind of a rhetorical comment almost is that, when we talk about road safety, it's important to everybody, it's something we all want to support. But, there's a kind of philosophy or a movement of safetyism at all costs. And so when I hear things about speed limits that are 24 hours a day and that kind of thing, I think what's really important is that this is also data-driven and that there's evidence to support where we spend money and improvements we make incrementally at places that make sense. And I know that you're going to be doing that because you already commented on that a little bit. So I agree with a lot of the comments that were made around the table. Just in general, I think carte blanche things applied to the whole city across the board are interesting, but I'd rather have it data-focused, evidence-based, and then look at the places that are the highest priorities. And so I'm sure you'll be doing that because I know that's how you do the report. So thank you.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, absolutely. The city's traffic calming program, including in school zones, is data and community-driven, absolutely evidence-based.
Great, thanks. Councillor Day?
Well, I'm really glad to hear that it will be database because like an elementary school on Garden City is going to need far more traffic measures than Woodward School on Seacoat Road. There's just not near the same amount of traffic. So when you reached out and had meetings with staff, did they understand that we couldn't make like one rule for every location?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, absolutely. There's a suite, a toolkit of traffic calming measures that we have at our disposal, and it depends on the type and function of the roadway that's fronting the schools, and we develop the measures for speed interventions based on the context of the surrounding roadway network. So not every school frontage has the same treatment.
I'm glad to hear that because when I was reading the letter, that didn't come out really clearly. So, but working collaboratively with them, I'm sure we can come up with, far better options. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So this is an item that is just receive report. Okay, all those.
Staff for the continued efforts that they've made and addressed them already, and that letter, a letter we written to the school board, we're taking the school liaison of what's been done.
So that can happen through Councillor Liu and then as well as our Traffic Safety Advisory Committee.
Yeah, we can certainly help with that letter, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so moved. I think we should respond in formal writing.
Great. Okay, thank you. Did we finish voting on that? No, we didn't. All those in favor of receiving? Thank you. Okay, now the additional items, I just added two. We might have something, might only need one of them, we'll see. So 5A, that's the Handy Dart one, and I was trying to email this to you, but our emails weren't working. So this is just a recent letter from last week, I think, and it relates to an upcoming date, December 3rd, when the TransLink board of directors is going to meet to decide to continue contracting out the Handy Dart service, which is unique. Most of everything else is done in-house. And two of the biggest municipalities have signed on, written specific letters from their mayor. Now we're kind of out of time to have this committee ask the mayor to write a letter and then that letter to get to them by December 3rd. But perhaps still we could make a motion of support from this committee that would be in the minutes at the council meeting on Monday that we could speak to, so the public can know that Richmond is also in support of moving Handy Dart in-house for various reasons. Now, a few months ago, all of us in our email got not this letter, but other letters that were either, here's what you could write to Kevin Quinn of TransLink, or here's what other municipalities have done, and would Richmond consider doing it. So as far as I know, we haven't done anything at all with that as a city. And so I'm asking maybe today that we consider, as a committee, putting it in the minutes that we support Handy Dart being in-house. So moved and seconded. Okay, then let's see if there's some comments on that. So Councillor Day first.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I understand this, the idea behind bringing it in-house, but I'd like to ask staff what would be the advantage. Now, we're not TransLink, so we don't have all the data and information, but I know a lot of other cities have contracted out bus service for various reasons, and they're sometimes more effective. So what's the advantage or disadvantage to in-house or contracted out?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, for this issue, I really can't say, like, it's outside of my area expertise for how Handy Dart operates and how they staff it through what they do. The things that I do know from the meetings are, from in-camera meetings, so I don't know if I can share that in an open meeting. And what I would say beyond that is Mayor Brody sits on both the board and the Mayor's Council, so he probably has a lot of insight and opinion based on the discussion they've had in those meetings.
Well, then maybe a slight modification, maybe that could be a friendly amendment that we kind of look into it further before we start telling Handy Dart that they should bring it in-house. Why don't we put it on the table for Monday? And still plenty of time, that's almost a week before the December 3rd TransLink meeting. I'd like to know more. I'd like to know what the advantages and disadvantages are, because sometimes TransLink can make decisions to cancel entire routes and services, and we have no say in that. So what was their reasoning for going out of their organization and into a contract? I think we need that information before we can effectively communicate with them. And given that Mayor Brody is on the TransLink board, he may be able to offer insight that we just don't have today.
Thank you. Councillor McNulty?
Yeah, thank you. I really, this has been going on for years. I think we need to listen to our citizens, people like George Pope, people at RCD, who say, I have to wait for X number of hours for a Handy Dart, or there's a no-show, or they don't do certain things, there's a frustration there. And I think there's an issue with operation of priority from that. Unfortunately, that whole segment of society doesn't have the same level of services that we do. And I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, to support what's there in terms of going on. And I think because it has been going on for years. And I think if we offer a level of support, write a letter, let's see what kind of response we get back. And Mayor Brody maybe on Monday can answer it. They're not going to want it because the cost will go up for better services. It's just like saying we want another 406 bus coming by my place, and now the bus is going to cost some money, so they want to put it on. Okay, so it's strictly a matter of economics, and obviously if this is an area they can shave, they've shaved it. So, sorry, I'm on our challenged individual side on this one. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor McNulty. So I'll just highlight one part from in here. It just says from Mayor Sims' letter that they would improve accountability to riders, ensure decisions about service delivery are guided by public interest, and on and on. Again, we don't know, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of stuff probably discussed in closed meetings that we're not privy to. But I think and I was just informed by our city clerk that Handy Dart is actually delegating to our upcoming council meeting as a non-agenda item. So we'll hear more then, and maybe the response to that delegate can be approval for a letter or a response from the mayor saying his support for that or something at the upcoming Monday meeting. Yeah. Yeah. So we can do our homework as well and see what other information we can dig up to contribute or ask questions to the Handy Dart delegation. So if there's no further discussion there, we won't take any official action on that. We'll just leave it till Monday. Next item is item 5B, which is the Hamilton overpass. I kind of commented on it in the previous item there. I'm not sure if Councillor Hobbs wanted to share anything else on that. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, and through the chair. Yeah, this issue came up in a meeting at the Hamilton Community Center about a week ago, and Councillor Wolf and I were both there. And yeah, in brief, I did walk across it that day and took a few pictures and a video. And it's old. It was probably originally put in with the highway, and citizens had some concerns. It joins two chunks of Richmond. That's the way to get across the highway if you're walking or riding a bike. And just in short, it's old, the railings are too low, the concrete needs some repair work done, and I think that I'd support us advocating to the province to somehow get it on a priority list to be essentially renovated at least. And it should probably be covered and have some lights like more modern overpasses have on different highways. If you were going across there as two grandparents and their grandkids, it appeared to be anyway, were when I walked across it coming the other way, I'd be horrified to go across that with my grandchildren, especially if you rode a bike and you're supposed to dismount, but a lot of people don't. The railings are too low, should be covered, should be lit, needs concrete repair work done, and the joints at the kind of north end need to be redone too because there's a gap. So a lot of work has to be done on it. It connects two pieces of Richmond, so it's of interest to us and the people that live in Richmond. And yeah, I'd support us at least writing a letter or advocating to the province to somehow allocate some funds to get that done.
Thanks. I'll just see if I can ask staff. So Sonali did mention that it is something that committee, traffic safety, can advocate for. But does the province have our ear on issues like this? I'm not sure if Lloyd could comment on that.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, like what I can say about that is I'm aware of the overpass that you're talking about, and in my previous post here at the city as the manager of engineering planning, I did advocate to them for some repair work and upgrades at that point in time. I don't believe that they happened. So at the end of the day, I think we should advocate for it, but it has been a challenge to get them to do something about the overpass.
Would you recommend something stronger then, instead of just from staff, but like a letter coming from mayor and council would that be like the next course of action that you'd maybe recommend on this one?
I think that's really up to council. Like, I don't think that hurts at all.
Okay.
I think that helps. We can certainly contact them and remind them of their obligation here to keep that overpass in a state of good repair.
Councillor Day, want to comment?
You know, a letter is always good, but a letter that's backed up with evidence is even better. And given, you know, Councillor Hobbs said he walked it, you walked it, and you could clearly see what the issues are. I'm wondering if we aren't almost better to direct staff to put together a synopsis of what is happening there so that when we make this request, we're backing it up.
Okay, that sounds like a way to value add to that letter. So maybe we can maybe plan to bring this item back in a month or two and see what maybe staff can put together as like infrastructure improvements, more specific things that we can put in that letter to kind of elevate its status. So maybe, staff have another comment on that or yes, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You beat me to, I was going to suggest that staff can take this away and provide a bit of, call it a list of some recommendations that we can present to the province, so.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, so manager's report. Are there any manager's report? Oh, okay, I just have a couple of real quick questions. And Milton's here, so you can probably answer the first one in a second. Along River Road, under the, actually on both sides, I think, of the train trestle bridge, there's like an inflatable tube or something that's against the riprap on the water side of River Road. What is that?
To the chair, to be honest, I don't know what that is. I'd have to take a look and get back to you.
Okay. I'm not sure if it's full of sand or what, but it's like a barrier, maybe because of the dredging activity around the bridge work or something. I don't know.
Again, I'd have to go out and take a look.
I've never seen it used anywhere else, but I guess that's one. Gilbert Road, we've heard a couple letters now, right in front of Richmond Hospital. It seems like at the gateway, we're going from 2 lanes. It looks like construction's happening, so everyone funnels into 1 lane, but it sure doesn't look like it's going to go back to being 2 lanes. And I see a lot of fire trucks and ambulances stuck in traffic backed way out. What's going on there?
To the chair, right now, it is down to 1 lane because with the way that the road is being realigned for the MUP, the center median on the north side of the intersection needs to be removed before we can reinstate 2 lanes on the south side. So right now, it's not aligned properly, so you'd have pretty much a chicane to try to get through there with 2 lanes. So right now, they're removing that center median on the north side, and it will be 2 lanes at the end of the project.
And what's the timeline for roughly?
We're aiming for the end of the year.
Okay, great, thank you. And my last one, recently, in the past, I found out that Shell Road, the section in between Alderbridge Way and Westminster Highway, the shoulder that's all gravel, and sometimes trucks park on it or workers park on it and then shuttle to their job site. It's a mess, and the big trucks hit the potholes and splash the gravel right out into the roadway, and cars fling rocks at each other. So I'm not sure if we have a long-term strategy to cap that off or do something to prevent the hazard that it creates on the roadway on Shell Road.
Right now, it's not in the capital plan to do anything there, but it's through our regular maintenance activities, we can take a look at that.
Right, well, if others want to go look at it, maybe they can make their comments as well. All right, does anyone else have any questions to staff while we're all here and before we shut this one down? All right, we are all in favor of adjourning. Thank you.